Alright guys, today I'm back with my weekly State of the Game recap video, and this one includes the hot topic, which is NPC difficulty and scaling, something that I've actually covered twice now, and most recent being my video yesterday. The devs have confirmed that nerfs are going to be coming, people. On top of that, they talked about issues in the game like control points not resetting when changing the difficulty, and the new Manhunt not resetting as well when it shouldn't. So I'm going to go over everything here as usual. Let's begin. Okay, so as usual, I'm just going to go down all of the bullet points that I've got here, and I'll put some comments where I feel they're necessary. But we're going to go from start to finish here, as it was in State of the Game. So today we didn't have Hamish, we had Chris taking his place, and we had Drew, Yannick, and I can't remember the name of the other developer. I actually didn't write it down. Sorry about that. I can't remember. Anyway, they started off with the priority alerts. So there was a maintenance on Tuesday. There were some blueprints which were not basically showing. These have now been fixed. The Restorer Hive was not working as well. That's now been fixed as well. There's an unscheduled maintenance coming tomorrow. This will be at 10 a.m. CET, 5 a.m. EDT, or 2 a.m. PDT for 1.5 hours. NPCs not dropping crafting materials. They're hoping to get that fix out tomorrow. The clans and friends list fix as well coming tomorrow. Also, there was an issue on capital building as well, where I believe it wasn't allowing you to progress any further on legendary. That's also going to be fixed with the unscheduled maintenance tomorrow. I believe the maintenance patch notes have come out for those as well at this point. Also, they did say they're continuing to take feedback on like bugs, and they're trying to implement fixes as soon as possible. They've got a whole bunch of stuff that people have been talking about, and they went through a few of those. The first one being the Dark Zone infinite loading screen. That's something that I've actually experienced myself. It was very frustrating. Obviously, that's not intended. That's something they're looking to fix. Matchmaking queues being too long. Some gear set talents are not behaving properly, and they're going to require all the info on this sort of stuff. Certainly when it comes to like gear set talents, they're going to require when it happened, if you're in a group, if you've got video footage of it, of course, when you're reporting it, then please do that. Sound issues, they've always got a constant battle with sound issues, and that's something that's always on their radar, and they're always trying to improve. Issues reviving group members. Again, with this, they do require help with the reporting, i.e. when, where, all of that sort of good stuff. Bounty locations not being accessible. This one has frustrated the hell out of me recently. Running around 15 minutes trying to find what, bounties that are literally in the floor. Again, that's not intended, and they're looking into that as well. The Bloodsucker talent, if you didn't know, it currently works with skills. So if you destroy one of your own skills, it actually procs the Bloodsucker talent. That's not intended, and a fix will be coming for that soon as well. The Manhunt progress is not currently working properly, and they did say that they're going to talk about that in more detail, which I'll get to as we go through this. Season caches, whilst in the Dark Zone, being contaminated. That's not intended as well. Season level not increasing when playing the Dark Zone. Not intended, which is good news, because I think some people said on Twitter that maybe this was intended, but no, it's not, so that's good news. They then want to talk about kind of like the positive vibes around the game and the update with so many new players in the game. It's been like kind of a hectic week for them, but it's been a great one. It's not perfect, of course, but they intend, as always, to iterate and make things better, and I have to agree, it's been great, but of course there are some problems, some big problems that need to be addressed, and they addressed a couple of them in this State of the Game, so we're going to go over them. The first thing they talked about was the seasonal Manhunt, the first target, Neptune, being available. There's 4 districts to complete. If you count Roosevelt as one of them, you have to complete the required challenges, i.e. the control points, etc. And once you completed all of those, Neptune's going to show, and then you have to take them down. Now, they are a rogue agent, so they are going to be fairly difficult, but once you defeat Neptune, you can then change the difficulty. It will reset all your progress, essentially, and you can go back through it again if you wish, and it's quite good to go back through it. If you're looking to actually increase your season, then it's really good, because each district that you do gives you a big chunk of XP towards your reward track for the seasons. They then wanted to talk on about the reset of the global difficulty, because at the moment it currently resets your progress on the Manhunt, And Yannick actually said that this is not intended. It should not be resetting your progress. This is something they want to change, and this is something that is being investigated. Ideally, they're going to want to fix this as soon as possible. There's an issue currently where, in some situations, when you change directives, it also resets your progress. Again, not intentional, and that's also an issue. They're also looking at ways to make the UI more clearer, because currently when you change your directive, when you change your difficulty, it will say, look, if you do this, you will lose progress, etc. But they want to make that a bit more clearer. But I guess what they're trying to say really is that it's not intentional that you lose your progress towards your manhunt in the current game. What they did say is intentional is if you go and play with a friend and your world is set to hard and you go to their world, which is say set to normal, that if you go ahead and do the manhunt stuff in that normal sort of co-op world, then it won't count towards your world, because your world is separate to that person. So hopefully that makes sense. Also, there's the same problem with control points, where when you reset your manhunt, when you change your difficulty, it's not resetting the control points, and that shouldn't be the case. That's why New York has remained under your control if you've taken all of the control points. Again, not the case, something they are looking into. They then went over a recap of what's to come. I'm not really going to go over that stuff. You guys already know what's to come. I've done quite a few videos on that. What I will say is that double XP is currently available for 1 week, and this is up to level 15. Over level 15 it doesn't apply. I've seen a lot of people, myself included, talking about maybe that the XP is too quick, and people are going to get through the seasons quickly, but that's probably due to the fact that it's double XP at the moment, so that's probably why. We got leagues and we got all of that sort of good stuff coming shortly. They confirmed that with season level 35 you get an exotic mask. You can actually find it on the rewards track. It's pretty cool, but they wanted to add that once the season is over, this will be added to the loot pool at a later stage, and it will likely be from the named Coyote NPC, just because the mask is called the Coyote exotic mask. And they did include this nice little kind of rolling bit of footage here, and I think it just looks cool. So yeah, take a look at that. They then went on to just confirm that the second season, the premium reward track, will cost about $10 or 10 euros for that. They then want to talk about one of the most important topics that I've covered twice in my video yesterday. You guys seem to really enjoy when I talk about this sort of stuff, and that's difficulty. And so Drew actually took over this one, and he said there's 3 topics to discuss with this subject. The first one is that the general difficulty balance in the health and armor per sort of NPC. Then the second one being co-op scaling, and then the third one is the Dark Zone time to kill, which is kind of separate to the first two. So they wanted to start off with the Dark Zone time to kill because that was the easiest to explain. Currently, it is too quick. It's not intended to be that way. This is being investigated. The plan is to absolutely make this longer than what it currently is. They don't know exactly what change will be coming yet. They just know that the time to kill will be increased, because currently in the Dark Zone there's no build diversity right now due to the very fast time to kill. So that's something that's being investigated, and they are going to be adjusting that. They then want to talk about PvE. They said the opposite problem is in PvE, where the NPCs are taking too long to go down. Difficulty settings to start with, that's the first thing they want to talk about. Currently for hard mode, this is roughly in line with where they want it to be. They could do some slight tinkering, but hard mode is where they kind of want it. Challenging though, it was good when they tested it internally, but they actually think it's overtuned based on feedback and what they've seen. When they balanced for challenging internally, they did it with kind of god builds in mind, people that already had sort of really strong builds in mind. They didn't consider this would actually limit the build diversity though, and actually they don't want that. Right now people are just running kind of all damage builds just because people are dying so quickly, and this will likely be adjusted down moderately is the word that they actually used. It will absolutely not be as easy as it was pre-Title Update 8 or pre-Warlords, but the enemies will be adjusted down so they die sooner, and the time to be killed is also going to be looked at, because again, you cannot build blue currently because you just died too quickly. So that's also something they are looking into increasing as well. Decreasing the time to be killed. No, increasing the time to be killed. That's the right way of saying it. Drew went on to talk about the co-op scaling as well, which again is part of the same problem. Currently, they scale to accommodate for more players. That's kind of how co-op scaling works. And for technical reasons, they cannot put, just 4 times the number of NPCs on the screen and just reduce all of their health drastically. This was something that I said they should do, but for technical reasons they can't, which makes sense. But that is a real shame, to be honest. Behind the scenes, they scale the enemy output when it comes to challenging, so that's how they do it. And so instead of just having loads of NPCs, the way that they actually do the scaling is that they scale the enemy output and increase that, and then they make them endure more damage as well. Red bars, it's not that noticeable even currently, but what they've done is they've really increased it a lot for the elites and the named enemies, and currently it's overtuned, and they know that all of the NPCs are overtuned, but elites and NPCs are especially overtuned, and that was the words that they used. You get a compounding effect when you have both the difficulty, which is slightly overtuned, and then you have the group play, which is overtuned as well, and those compound to make it even worse when it comes to kind of bullet sponginess. They do intend to fix this. For heroic, they really want it to be a challenge for all players. They know there's a lot of players that really want the heroic challenge, and again, it's not for everyone. There is maybe some tweaking to be done there, but ultimately they think heroic's not in such a bad place. The co-op scaling changes, though, should alleviate some of the difficulties when it comes to being in a group and playing heroic. They don't really want to touch legendary. It's really just for a select group of players, the 1% of players, so they're not really that concerned too much with legendary. I think most of their concerns were around challenging and then being in 3 or 4 man groups, is what I got from it. They are very happy that difficulty is back, and I've got to agree, I'm happy with that too. I don't think anyone disputes that having something which is a bit more difficult is always good. They said if challenging is too easy for you, then you're in the wrong difficulty. You need to be playing heroic, or you need to be playing a legendary. If it's too hard, then you need to go down a tier. You need to go down to hard, or you need to go down to normal. You need to find what is suitable for your build and your skill level. But the bullet sponginess is still a problem that they want to address, but they do want to keep the difficulty in the game. They then went on to, again, just to address the time to be killed. Because of the compounding effect that we've already talked about, this should increase build diversity, and time to be killed will be adjusted as well. When can we expect these changes? Well, these changes require an update to both the server and the client. In terms of timeline, it's as soon as possible. They might go in a couple of times on iterating on this. What they don't want to do is make a huge change and then everything's too easy. They want it to be incremental, and I'm glad they said this, because Massive have a track record of making huge changes and not incremental ones, and it swings the other way. So I'm glad they said that this will be incremental. What they may do is just implement one change at a time, so they might just adjust the co-op scaling, see how that works out, and then follow that by the difficulty, see how that works out, etc., rather than just put everything in at once and possibly change the balance too much. A question was raised of what does this mean for the raid? Well, the raid is actually balanced completely differently, and again, that's good to hear, because when I watched Wood's video, I believe he brought up the raid and how if the raid was anything like Legendary is, it's going to be awful. Well, it's glad to hear that this is going to be balanced separately as well. They then talked about loot quality. They asked for examples, for you guys to send them examples of where NPCs on challenging are dropping purples. I don't believe that's meant to be the case. Loot containers will still have purples because there's no effort in getting those loot crates. You just open them, and actually purples sometimes are good for deconstructing because you get materials out of them. Okay, but when it comes to NPCs in challenging or above, I don't believe they should be dropping purples, and I don't believe the devs believe they should be dropping purples. So they want examples of that so that they can look into that as well. And then they briefly touched upon the PTS. I think someone basically asked, look, why wasn't there a PTS? And the overall just kind of response was, well, this expansion is so big, it would have been hard to ask people to test only this little bit here without spoiling everything for everyone. So what they would rather do is just get out to everyone and work on it in the live game. They find that that's just more productive. Also, it would have taken them far, far longer to get the approvals and all of that sort of stuff, and it would have just delayed the whole thing drastically, and I can appreciate where they're coming from for that. So yeah, that was it for the state of the game. I'm glad they addressed the difficulty. They did address it last week, but I'm glad they addressed it again. Am I happy that these nerfs are coming into place? Yes, because if you haven't watched my video yesterday, I do believe that the bullet sponginess is a problem, but what I don't want to happen is for the game to become too easy, and we already know that they can't implement changes which mean to increase the NPCs. So what I said was that what they should do is they should increase the decrease the time to be killed. They should increase the time to kill on NPCs, but they should just be more NPCs, and they should probably play more aggressive. While there are obviously going to be technical issues here that don't allow for them to have more NPCs, so they're going to have to reduce the amount of damage the NPCs do to you and the amount of damage you do to them. As long as they don't adjust it too much, it should be fine, but we obviously don't want it to go the wrong way where it just becomes pre-TUA and it just becomes too easy for people. I don't think they're going to do it for Legendary. I think Legendary will stay exactly how it is. Heroic, they might adjust it. I think this is mainly for Challenging, and I got to admit, Challenging is probably the sweet spot where the major concerns are, certainly with group play. So there we go. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, guys. If you did, drop a like on the video. It does help me out. Until the next one, Epic out.